health is the new luxury good, right? It used to be things and then it became experiences, and now it's how healthy are you essentially. And so there's
Mhm.
a lot of very well off people who are putting a lot of money into their own health. And I think that what there's now a push to is those people are being given opportunities to invest in the next level of health and wellness. And
This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, hosted by Chrissy Van. Together, we're uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. 1 year ago, just before the launch of Wellness Growth Mastermind, I sat down with Brian von Ancken to talk about his vision for connecting top leaders across the wellness space. Fast forward to today, and WGM has become a hub for high-level conversations on how to grow, scale, and innovate in one of the fastest evolving industries in the world. From macro trends shaping wellness in 2025 to the rise of mental health, recovery, and tech-enabled services, we're unpacking what's next for this industry and the operators who drive it. We'll dive into the most valuable lessons shared inside the mastermind, what makes an enterprise-level partnership truly effective, and how brands are navigating scaling challenges in an AI-driven, experience-focused market. With a track record that includes brands like Tough Mudder, Berries, and Othership, Brian brings a wealth of knowledge to the pod. Before we get started, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly featuring industry thought leaders and influencers. I'm your host, Chrissy Van, and this is ATFW. Brian, I'm so pleased to welcome you back on ATFW. It has been over a year that we have spoken, but at the time, the Wellness Growth Mastermind was merely going from ideation into reality in real time. So, how are you?
I'm good. It's so funny. Yeah, this is like a full circle moment a bit. Yeah, I was literally here a year ago. My background, I'm not in my usual home. I'm in Rhode Island at my in-laws, and that's exactly where I was last year when we chatted. So this is very fun, and yeah, it's great. I mean, what a change, what a difference a year could make, right? We are
Mhm.
now 200 members strong. We've got a really great base of people. We get together quarterly. We have these virtual calls monthly, which are just getting knocked out of the park. And then our Slack channel, which I was very suspect of, is actually super active. People are getting a ton of value out of it. And it's just, I feel like every day I hear about somebody's like, oh, I found my investor through that, or there's a big partnership that happened, or I just learned about this channel. And so I'm just trying to hold on for dear life at this point to make sure that the quality is really good and be really discerning. And so, yeah, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's been fabulous to watch the momentum grow. And for those that maybe want the reminder of our last episode, but your background was attorney and you went on your own really introspective wellness journey after encountering those life hardships that tend to railroad and sideline us and make us ask a lot of curious questions about ourselves. And then getting into this wellness community, knowing that you wanted to elevate it, celebrate it, help it grow, help people build connections. You're now living and breathing that, and I'm sure learning a lot on the other side of it. So that's really where the focus of this conversation is going to be, because exactly that. For over a year, you have had a gathering and a growing gathering of some of the biggest minds in the wellness space. And, I know that the name of my podcast is All Things Fitness and Wellness, but so often it's around the fitness facility conversation. So I'm grateful to be able to dig in here. I'm curious in regards to the conversations happening inside WGM. What are some of the biggest trends that you're seeing shape the industry right now? Because obviously, on a gym operator side, they're always saying longevity, recovery, and it's very high level. But what are kind of the most exciting things that people are discussing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it definitely is within some of the buckets that you're describing. We talk about longevity, we talk about recovery a lot. I think that, one of the things that's pretty hot right now is kind of personalized blood work, which you can see from places like Function Health and Superpower, and kind of, yeah, just using AI to take control of how you view your overall health and wellness. And so we have apps in there that are collecting wearable data and putting it together in simplified ways that you can share with your doctor or maybe your fitness facility or whatever. And we've got all these different data points now that I think the data points are racking up in terms of all the different wearables, all the different places that you go to work out. And the question is who's going to be able to crack the code of synthesizing it all down in digestible ways that can actually lead to behavior change. So that's something that we talk a lot about, is like, yeah, what are the ways in which you can actually leverage that into ways that grow your business and create long-term value for the customers that you have?
And when it comes to that type of technology, do you see it as more of a luxury service from the consumer side right now, or is it quickly translating down because of technology that this will be accessible to the average gym owner or gym user rather?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's definitely, I think there's a lot of education that needs to, there's a lot of clunk that needs to be getting out of the system, but the, J curve or whatever of AI adoption is kind of nuts to me. And so the
Mhm.
fact that there's no doubt that many of your gym guests have used ChatGPT in some way for their health already. And the question is can you find ways to make yourself a part of that conversation so that you seem fluid in it, so that you seem like you're additive and not necessarily somebody who's just a dinosaur and doesn't know anyway. Like, oh, that's just for the kids. It's like at this point, this is going to be for everybody pretty soon. And so finding your way in on how to speak language and do it well, and not just from the customer experience, but also from just growing your own business perspective.
Mhm.
That's we do end up having a lot of conversations on AI in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, without question. Well, the thing is, it's changing so quickly in real time. And so the conversation has to continue because it's so fluid. Like I've been doing a lot of prep work for the Fitness Technology Summit. I work alongside them. So I've had a bunch of pre interviews with different CTOs and CIOs. And some of the commentary, they're like, when is this going to run? Because what I just said might actually be outdated in 2 weeks. And that's the reality we're living in real time. I know I was going to ask you about this later, but because we're already on the AI subject matter, I know this week the session was focused around SEO growth and AI. And I mean, SEO has been the name of the game forever, but the game has shifted tremendously. What were some of the main takeaways from that convo?
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, we do these monthly virtual calls. I kind of treat them almost like mini conferences. We average like 60 to 70 people on the call. We bring in an expert speaker for 10 to 15 minutes, and then we do breakout rooms, kind of synthesize some of the things that we learned. And it was a really incredible chat. We had this guy on who's started 3 or 4 companies in the space, super successful in SEO, and he is really dialed in into what exactly is going on with these ChatGPT LLMs and how to get ranked on them. And a lot of it does come down to traditional SEO type of things. Like you want to have these listicle articles that kind of rank you first, and you want to make sure that you're, getting mentions in different places with authority. But I think that some of the things that he mentioned were around things like Reddit, things like with Wikipedia, things like having a really clear about us page. Because the
Right.
reality is, you might think that it's clear, but if you're doing something and it's not abundantly clear on your about me page, then the algorithm won't really know that that's what you do. And so just making sure that those pages are and not as much attention is paid to them as all the other pages on there.
Yeah, it definitely can end up the back burner page, but to your point, you're like, it's kind of the most important thing that you have. It's your digital ID, so to speak. Obviously, you mentioned off the hop of the conversation there that there's a lot of networking and interactions that happen within Wellness Growth Mastermind. And you talked about some people saying, hey, I met my investor in there, or all of a sudden I have another partner that's coming into this company. You are someone that, as I said in the intro, started attorney, then shifting gears. You were at the ground of Othership, which obviously has had an incredible journey and was really such an innovator in the hot cold contrast therapy space. So, when it comes to investments right now in the space, where do you see investors having the most appetite in regards to wellness focused businesses right now? Where's kind of the attraction?
I mean, it's a good question. I think if you ask me, you talk about things changing, right? If you asked me this 6 to 8 months ago, I think things were a little frozen. People were still trying to understand what is life going to be like under the new administration with da 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 da. And,
Mhm.
but I do feel like that there are people who are very interested right now in. I mean, it's a number of different verticals. I can't pretend like I'm the one who's making these plays on a day to day basis, but I know that one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a lot of people who, I mean, I think that health is the new luxury good, right? It used to be
Mhm.
things, and then it became experiences, and now it's how healthy are you, essentially. And so there's
Mhm.
a lot of very well off people who are putting a lot of money into their own health. And I think that what there's now a push to is those people are being given opportunities to invest in the next level of health and wellness. And we're seeing a higher appetite for it as the people with means start to invest more into their own health. And so that can take the form of, there's a lot of different wearables out there that are trying to solve, measuring cortisol levels or measuring, all different types of things that they're not just wearables that measure things, but also emit things and help make your body better. Or, there's like a bit of, I've seen investments in hardware, I've seen investments in software. Obviously, there's the blood paneling type stuff, and if you have the word protein in it and you're doing something cool, that can tend to go some way. So it's there's an appetite right now, I think, for just, okay, if you're doing something new and interesting, there's one company that's, just getting started that is going to be building something that's like essentially respiratory health. A lot of us are
Mhm.
unknowingly really, really dehydrated in our nasal passages and our throats, and they're creating what looks like a vape, but is actually healthy. So you inhale, and it's a nebulizer, which gives you, hydrates you instead of making, nicotine and bad. And so, things like that are creative, different, scratching an itch of people who think about health. I think those are the types of things that I'm seeing that are getting some traction.
That's so interesting that that's the example you used because I was just out with a friend the other day who used to be a cigarette smoker, obviously has transitioned to vaping, which people I think in the beginning were like, it's healthier, which we know is absolutely not the case. And the conversation actually stemmed because the vape juice in a lot of instances smells good. It's not my world personally, but I was like, "Oh, can I smell it?" And it smelled like grape candy. And she said, "Yes, it's problematic because her niece, which is 5 years old, said, "Auntie, like, what is that thing?" And it smelled good to the little kid. And so we were talking about,
Mhm.
I know, terrible, right? And it
Mm,
was the conversation that she had to have when you're a role model for somebody that's taken on an unhealthy habit. And she said the wrong thing to a little child, basically saying, "Don't do this, it will kill you," which then terrorized her to think,
yeah. Oh
"Auntie,
my
why are you
God.
doing this? Are you going to die?" Which was
Uh,
terrible. But all that being said, all she wants as an unhealthy habit builder with that is to be a healthier individual. Every other element of her life is dialed in except this addiction. So that's a super fascinating one to watch and just really speaks to the importance of innovation because people are trying to life hack. I mean, it's not just and it seems to be across every generation at this point. And I'm sure our exposure to social media and people living different types of lifestyles that we aspire to. I mean, if anyone is following an individual that's of wealth, to your point, now they're posting when they're going for their MRI checkups just to see if there's anything in the body. Like the game is changing so quickly.
Last quick thing I'll say on that is just that I send an email to investors that I know every 2 months of people in the group who are fundraising. So if someone's listening to this and they're looking to
Smart.
invest and they want to just kind of hear about some stuff, it's once every 2 months. It's not a lot, but I don't get anything out of it. But I like to. My whole thing is that if I can try to get more investment in the industry, it's just an all boats rise type situation. And so yeah, happy to chat with people if that's interesting.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, that kind of leads me to what I was going to say next in regards to the power of networking and partnerships. You've built this engine, you're 200 people strong that are collaborating. Like, how important and helpful is that for entrepreneurs that are entering the space?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could copy and paste some people who have told me like the people people say really nice things all the time about it. I think at the end of the day, especially when you're kind of getting started, or at least if you're relatively new, the connections that you make are the ones that go such a long way, and that can mean so many different things. Yes, it can mean investors, it can mean partners, could mean different hiring, all that, everything is going to be, you're going to be taken way more seriously if there's a connection. I think even for the more established brands, because we have quite a lot of established brands in here too, I think they find that there's like a real value in having a pulse on like what are some of these scrappier, younger, not like younger in terms of time, how they've been around, type of brands, and what are they doing, how are they thinking about different things, and
Mhm.
what are the ways that you can take advantage, take the best, take the things that are interesting to you and try it within your own organization. And I just really want it to be a give first mentality. Like I've really been intentional about everyone in the group is like, all right, hey, I'm like intentionally not charging you an arm and a leg because I want you to be giving first. I want you to be like, okay, hey, how do I help the next person? Because I know that that's ultimately going to come around, and I just know that this is an all boats rise industry. And so I think that that's what ends up being why people, constantly are telling me, man, this feels totally different than a lot of other organizations I've been a part of.
Yeah, would you say, because obviously it was just a vision you were bringing to life before, how has it met your expectations of what you saw in your mind's eye compared to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm much less of a long-term vision person than as I am of just good inputs every day. So every day
Mm.
I'll try to help somebody. Every day I'll try to do the best I can. Every day I'm going to try to move forward. And I think I've been doing that long enough that it's finally to a place where people are like, wow, we appreciate people who do things the right way. And so, um, I didn't really necessarily have any expectations or anything like that. I just trusted that if I'm putting in the inputs and I have, good intentions, that this is gonna lead to something that's valuable for people that people wanna be a part of. And so we're there. We're there so far, at least.
I love that philosophy, the inputs every day. I mean, it does make a lot of sense because that's how any positive change can happen and be instilled in our life. And I know that when people then attend WGM, they leave with new ideas for what those inputs might look like. So we've talked a lot about the growth in the wellness space and how it's changing so quickly. But what are some of the common challenges that have been coming up? Because again, on the podcast, I speak with a lot of gym operators and we're kind of well versed in those. But in the wellness space, what's been coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things. I mean, I think a lot of it is like the education gap that, it's just very hard to condense a lot of what these people do into small meta ads, you know, and there's just a lot of education that needs to happen. And so we do see people really going the route of podcasts as a way, as one of the, channels to try to help get the long form content out there so that people can understand and educate on what it is that they're exactly doing. I also think that there's lots of it's kind of this new world, and so making sure that everything is there's so many different levers that are not built in for the infrastructure of wellness, and so it's just trying to make sure that don't you can accommodate the demand. Like, demand can get so high and then it's hard to meet it, but then it can come like there's kind of spikes depending on things. So like just like meeting the spikes of like wellness demand that can be pretty fickle, I think, right now. Um a- and and I think it a lot of people also are just like trying to tracking is really hard. It's just, and this is like an everybody type thing, but like, how do you attribute, how do you fully track, how do you empower your team to be data driven, that sort of thing. These pretty classic challenges for a lot of different brands, but I think not definitely happening in wellness as well.
Why do you feel it's so fickle? Like, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I mean, I think it's like when you're new, obviously you can experience that bump, and then what do you normalize at? Because if you expect it to be where it was when you got your first bump, then that's one thing. And then I think a lot of it can also come down to if you hit that virality, you're posting all the time, and then you hit the virality, and then, or you got speak with that one influencer, or you get on that one podcast, and it's like planning for that and accounting for that. And then I do think that the wellness space is cyclical, and I think there are trends and there are fads, and I think being aware of that, being not like being ignorant to that, is important. And it depends on each individual type of company, but I think that's something that it can really have an effect on planning if you because it can be so fickle.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, and especially depending on what the business is, to your point, some of it can cause such a social media storm because they've never seen it before. But how habitual of a behavior would it be for the consumer to actually do that all the time? Which makes me curious on the subject of trends, because I know that you did have a huge role in what contrast therapy looks like today. Because now, for example, even in the city of Vancouver, which I'm still waiting, there is no Othership here for the record. But there's a lot of players that kind of are emulating that format. And then I'm seeing contrast therapy saturation here in the city. So do you feel like what's the prognosis on contrast therapy? Because there seems like there's so many standalone businesses that have opened in the space, but to constantly funnel in new consumers of it versus the ones just going for a social Friday, is it still on a growth trajectory, or might we be plateauing in certain markets?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I'm not spending my day to day in contrast anymore, but from what I can tell, is there's still quite a lot of opportunity in that space. I think that places like Othership have a bit of a moat because of their unique ability to create completely different experience than you would get at a mom and pop type of sauna cold plunge space. And so I think it's like saying, is fitness just because there's a lot of gyms popping up, is berries, not gonna, have people go? And I think I do think that there's specific players who are doing it the right way, creating really, really
Mhm.
unique experiences that there's really not gonna be a tapping out of in terms of potential for a long time because the reality is I saw somebody post on Twitter recently that my favorite part of going to the gym is going to the sauna, right? And
Mm.
so,
Mhm.
there's something that can really be built in as a part of people's weekly routines. And um, I don't know whether it's going to be at the gyms or whether they want to go to separate spaces like other ships, but there's definitely still quite a lot to be untapped, to be tapped into here. If I was opening my own, I would be intentional about where I put it, but I still think that there's opportunity in a lot of different places there.
Yeah, it's been such a fascinating sector to watch grow only because it feels like not that long ago that you were seeing articles that basically had the headline of what is this thing that people are doing? And now it's so commonplace. And to your point, so many people, it's part of their habitual life routine, which is really interesting to watch. I myself, although it doesn't really count, I went in the ocean this morning and to us, we're like, we have to get back in our cold plunge routine. I'm like, Kim, it is August. It hardly counts. I was like, we don't get our stripes back until at least October, November here in Vancouver, and then we've earned it and we're back in the game. But
Totally.
for yourself, obviously, as you say, this has had humble roots. And I really encourage people to listen to Brian's story from our previous episode. And I'll put the link in the show notes because all of this came to life from a really pure place. Like you were kind of called to want to elevate this industry. So, what's the future look like for you? What are the projects that are exciting for you? And in particular, the Wellness Growth Mastermind. I understand you're doing an in person event soon. So, how do you see that evolving?
Yeah, well, we do quarterly in-person events. So we just had one in New York. The one before that was in LA. This next one is in San Francisco. We'll do one in the fourth quarter in Miami, probably around the Eudaimonia Summit. But yeah, I mean, I I don't know. My whole thing is like I really want to make the world a healthier place, and how can I best do that, right? And I can go start my own company, and I could try to do it that way. But I think this way I can help all these companies get even 1% better. That's the highest leverage point that I have for myself. And so I'm actually going to be cutting off applications for WGM starting in probably October, just to really double down on the people that are in there. And then we're going to start doing cohorts based in January, where people will be joining at the same time. You'll kind of have a community built in around your cohort, and you'll be able to kind of grow together within the space. And so the plan is just to keep adding value for members. That's always what I've been focused on. And I feel like if I can keep adding value for members, I can keep great people in the group, then I think everything else will just kind of work out. And it's very much like I said, head down, good inputs in, and then we'll see kind of what happens.
Seeing what happens. When we were chatting last year, you had your little one, and as we were chatting before we started here, you're now expecting another one on the way, so congratulations. But
Thank you.
you opened up so much about your personal story and just the internal struggle and speaking from the male perspective as well, where people don't necessarily vocalize when they're not doing well, and that stigma for sure, thank goodness, because more of us are speaking out loud about the realities of life. It's starting to become a lot more of an approachable space. But I understand you're an introspective person. So now that you're so aligned in helping to elevate others and build others, like talk to me just a little bit about the difference in your own well-being as someone who decided to invest in their own well-being and now has made that a consistent habit.
It's like the most important decision I ever made. The trials and tribulations that I had to go through, the introspection that I did, the learning and experimentation that I did with myself to figure out what actually helps me feel healthy. I mean, that's the underpinning of everything that I'm doing because as life gets busier and more things going on and kids and all that sort of thing, I can really fall back on some really great practices and beliefs in myself that allow me to have the resilience to keep going when things feel a little overwhelming, or to handle, bad news, or someone, whatever, doesn't, it's like I have the ability and the tools and the base to just not get too high, not get too low, feel very confident in what I'm doing, and to also be open to change and to react and trust. And that's like, that took a really, really long time, but it really started with curiosity. If I didn't have that initial curiosity into what it was that I was interested in and made me tick and made me feel good, then I don't know if I would be able to be doing what I'm doing right now. And I think one of the Trojan horses of my group is to also help make wellness leaders make sure we practice what we preach. So we're actually taking care of ourselves too, and that we're not burning ourselves out, burning the candle at both ends. Because if we can't do it, then how the heck could anybody else? And so I try to make that easier. We have all these crazy perks of like health and wellness stuff by being a part of the group. And I try to, every time we have an event, for example, in San Francisco, it's going to be at a sauna cold plunge space. So it's,
Nice.
making it healthy. And so, that's kind of one of the tenets of what I'm building, but it definitely, yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, and it takes, it's a worthwhile endeavor, if you can do it.
Yeah, it makes people more open as well when you put them in a set or setting like that. So I imagine just the level of sharing just personally and professionally gets amplified when we take things out of a boardroom, out of a conference space, and you just get to be real and yourself, and that very overused word, but so true, your authentic version of yourself. What you say there is so important too. You have to practice what you preach. If you want any level of true success that you're going to be able to enjoy, you have to be very aligned and centered within oneself. And you talked about building those blocks and the time, but I'm curious, when it comes to the tools in your toolkit, the version of yourself now, what are the non-negotiables that you integrate that kind of help keep you steady?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. The days are pretty packed these days, but it's definitely some strength training. I find that that's a really, so I'm doing some strength training. I'll do some Pilates. I'll do Pilates once a week. I play basketball once a week. That's very social. And then I do a little, it's not even a meditation, but I listen to like a 2-minute mantra every morning. That is my start to my work, which kind of gets me into that mindset of like, understanding that, believe in myself, be kind, like just kind of like it's just simple stuff, but it just kind of preps me mentally to get
Yeah.
into working and to get my mind right. And then I end the week every Friday with yoga at 4 p.m. on Friday. And I just kind of, end the week, and then I get with my family starting at 5. And those are my non-negotiables right now. Those are I call it my total health formula. That's my minimum
Love that.
inputs that I need in order to feel like I'm, want to feel the way that I want to feel, and I can do the things that I want to do.
I appreciate you sharing because people that know you can see how busy you are. And so I love that though, total health formula. And I'll share, I have known so many fast paced, busy bodies where first thing they do, pick up their phone, pick up their laptop, and that sets the stage for their day. And I think most people can relate to being stuck in that cycle. So it's important to reiterate. I am not one of those people. I always start with like calm music in the morning. Coffee is my vice. And I'll share just what happened this morning. I get up, put the coffee maker, walk away from the Nespresso, mug smashes on the ground. After I
Oh.
had just said an affirmation to myself where I'm like, we're going to crush this day, da, da, da. Like I'd amped myself up, put it on, smashes on the ground. I run because now coffee is spilling out of it, pick up another mug, put it in. And because I practice this. So this is just kind of like that little reminder for anyone that's listening that's like, I am up to over my neck and drowning in my business. How do I have the time? All it took was one pause of reflection to look at the cup of coffee, and it was quite literally a glass half full by the time it was
Mm.
poured. And I was just like, well, new mantra for the day. Glass half full. I am knee deep in broken smash glass and coffee all over the walls, but the glass is half full. So,
Love it. Good
yeah.
on you. That's important. That's a good test. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's always funny when you get tested, like, especially if you're somebody that really is a believer, when things align with you and things like that, you kind of
Yeah,
just can chuckle your way through the little tiny tests that come your way and realize I don't have to respond to this in a negative fashion. Let's just roll with it. So,
100%. Love that.
Well, Brian, I'm so appreciative of you shedding a little bit of light over the Wellness Growth Mastermind and what you do, how it's grown. It's been really fascinating to watch your journey and just see all the response. And I know that you are humble when you were talking about it, and it's because you're rooted in such a deep why. But I see very frequently on your posts as well the level of appreciation for the networking opportunities and just that different style and openness so that ultimately people can not only be successful in business, but successful at being the best versions of themselves. So thank you so much for doing what you do.
No, thank you for having me. This is so fun. We'll have to do it again next year, and I'll be in the same location. And yeah, it's honestly just to have the opportunity to speak with you means a lot because I think I don't want to say you believed in me when, because I'm still very much when, but I think we really clicked very early on, and I think I appreciate all your support, and we're gonna keep it going. We'll see what happens this next year.
Yeah, I feel like I should just send you the calendar invite now, and then we can get the reminder next August and be like, where
Yes,
are we now, Brian?
I love it. I love it. Sounds
Right
perfect.
on. Well, you've just listened to the All Things Fitness and Wellness podcast, hosted by Chrissy Van. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly featuring industry insiders and influencers. Together, we're on a mission for everyone to live a life fit and well.